You're at your old trusty boat. You call mighty sparrow. I'm in the city of Mardi Gras.
Welcome to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, where we sit down with everyday people who do extraordinary things. I'm your host, Jerome Rand.
Good morning from the great state of Maine. I know I've said that a few times, it's almost like a catchphrase, but it is very early, just before the 5 a.m. ticker on the old clock, and you know what that means. It's just me alone, yet again. But hey, you know what? It's been over a week now, or maybe we're just at a week, where the goal was to do 2 a week, and I am just squeaking out this one because I need to keep putting it out there. Got people supporting this show, so I'm gonna get on this microphone and we're gonna talk about a few cool things that have been going on and all that sort of stuff. But I do have some pretty cool news up here. It seems like the West Sail community is starting to grow. We hauled one out the other day, and couple of guys came up, showed up, and all of a sudden, boom! I look on the dock, and there's a West Sail 32. So we're multiplying, and then from what I understand, another guy came in yesterday or the day before talking about wanting to haul his out here. So getting a little bit of a group family thing going on. I don't know. It's pretty neat though. We'll for sure be sharing stories, tips, tricks, all that sort of stuff. But it also, deep down inside, kind of makes me need to step up the old game. I got to make sure Almighty Sparrow's pulling her weight as far as how she's looking, clean, all that sort of stuff. And right now it's the absolute opposite, because we've been working like 11, 12-hour days so far this week, except for yesterday. Oh, man. And, when you work that much, everything else sort of gets derailed in a way, especially when it's such intense physical sort of labor and it's constant. It's really not. We take a little 30-minute break for lunch, but boy, it's we're basically moving and shaking. But I digress. Before that's a preview of some of the stuff we'll get into. But, first and foremost, I wanted to hit up some of the stuff. I got a great email yesterday about from a guy named Kyle, and he just wanted to hit me up because I had talked a while back on the podcast about the emergency water pump that I use, and it's a Katadyn. Pretty standard. It looks like a big black sort of tube with this handle on it. And one of the annoying things with it, besides the one that exploded on my first trip, you have to pump it, and it's one pump per second. So 1 second push it down, 1 second pull it up, and you have to do it at that slow rate of speed. And I guess he stumbled across some YouTube video where some people were being interviewed or whatever, but I think they had tried to actually make an automatic one using, of all things, windshield wiper motor for a car. And holy cow, I didn't even, as soon as I heard that, I'm sold. And I've got my buddy Dave here who knows everything and anything about cars and can rebuild them from the ground up. So I might have to find out if we can get ourselves a little motor, because that would be so cool. I don't know if we'd be able to run it off a 12, but I guess you would, because the car runs off a 12. I don't know. It's pretty interesting, but I want to thank Kyle for hitting that up, and then also some nice comments about the show and everything, which is always pretty cool. You get people reaching out, and I don't know. He's got a West Sail. I don't know where he's from and stuff, but I do want to say thank you, Kyle, for sending that in, because that will be That'd be kind of interesting to just sort of go through and see if that's possible. Boy, that would be. I mean, those water pumps generate such a small amount to be able to, on a really sunny day, just kick a thing on and then have it slowly drip, even if it only did like 2 or 3 gallons in a day. If you could have that going directly into your water tank, boy, that would be so nice. Just to not be up there holding a book instead of holding a water pump that you have to sort of be a bit of a slave to. And yeah, I don't know, pretty cool stuff. So I appreciate that getting thrown in there. And then another little update, which would be the old West Sail Sequoia. They are in Hawaii. He's pigging out on hot dogs and ice cream. And so he made a safe passage from San Diego straight to Hawaii. Going to get his batteries and all that sort of stuff fixed, and then continue on all the way back down to, I believe, in one of his updates, I think he had said he's going to go to Coffs Harbour, Australia, and then down to Tasmania, but I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of a strange thing when you're out there and you've got this goal in mind of doing this really long distance solo thing, and then something goes wrong and you have to sort of change your plans and everything, and you get to land and you're really excited about how great it is to be back, and you have all the stuff that you want again, and that lasts for a couple of days, and then you do feel, or at least I felt, a little bit of guilt. And I don't know, sort of self letdown, if that makes any sense, where you're like, oh man, I could have done it. I probably could have done that. I think that, and I'm not saying that about Rod, but it's one of those things I'll just start mulling it over in my brain, like, man, what if I coulda, or I shoulda. And I know those are probably not really healthy things. I suppose to some degree it's nice to analyze failure because that's how you're going to learn from it. But there's obviously an unhealthy level of doing that where you can sit there and you can go over all the what ifs, because it's that whole thing, hindsight is 2020, and I don't know. I try not to get too wrapped up in the past and what I could have done better or this or that. No regrets. Just keep moving forward. Think about it. But at the same time, you do want to learn from things that you screw up on. And I do believe that you learn more from failure than you do from success. But I think both of them have their pros and cons as far as the person that they turn you into as you move forward in life and all that sort of stuff. Boy, that's deep. That is deep for a Thursday, 5:05 a.m. Wow. Delicious coffee this morning. Really strong, though. Really strong. Holy cow. I was up a little later than normal last night. We went and saw a local comedy show here in Rockland. It was absolutely amazing. We went to, what was the place called? I want to say it was Eclipse. It's down right on the water. That's one of the cool things I do love about Rockland, Maine, is pretty much anywhere you're going to go eat or anything you're going to go do, you're pretty much going to be within a stone's throw of our beautiful ocean, which is always kind of cool. I don't know. It just gets you. Comedy Eclipse of the Pearl. It was a great little spot. They had some delicious food and some cheap beers and, well, fancy beers too. I drink cheap beers, and it was good. We went out, and I had sort of agreed to go out there with a couple of people, and had it just been me, I probably would have bailed because I was so tired. I got finished up work and immediately went and crashed for about, well, not immediately, but had a big nap and then tried to muster all the energy and enthusiasm I could. All I wanted to do, though, was put my head right back down on that pillow and just sleep for eight to 10 more hours and the rest of my weary bones. But I got down there, and actually it was Russ from the podcast previous to this one and his wife, and we walked down to this place and we watched. It was great. They had three sort of local. Well, they're all local comedians, but it's cool because it had it was like a real show vibe, and it is a real show. I mean, couple of short little sets for the openers, and then the headliner was a lovely young lady, Emily Dillon. You can see some of her stuff on YouTube or on TikTok, but it's best to definitely go and see her live. She has a great, I don't know, I want to say it's a bit authentic for sure, and very, very funny, but also really good. I mean, when you see her, you're sort of like, okay, yeah, that's a real comedian. Oh yeah, for sure. And she's plugging it out there. But I don't know, it's so amazing to look up there at a person who's standing on the stage, and they have taken a huge amount of energy and time to come up with and write and then refine and redo these jokes and these stories and put them out there and try over and over and over and over again to get up in front of people and make it work and fine-tune it to a point where it induces just laughter and smiles, and she absolutely does. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's just funny to see people up there, and they're really trying hard, and for the most part, I mean, they all had the crowd going last night. It was great, and we had some, I won't call them hecklers, but some enthusiastic crowd members that had a little bit too much to drink, and so the idea of chiming in and being funny either themselves or I think in a lot of ways people like to chime in at a comedy show because they think what they have to say is going to be so funny it's going to add to the performance, and they are always really wrong. Maybe once or twice a little quip, and then boop, you zip it for the rest of the show. Get your one-liner in there like Murph did the other week at the Bob Marley show. But I don't know. But she handled it pretty well, and it was a really funny set. Holy cow, I really, really enjoyed it. So, yeah, check her out, Emily Dillon. I think she just has a few clips on YouTube, but, yeah, very, very funny. And I don't know, I something about seeing people up there on the old stage that actually sort of, I don't know, it makes a bit of a nostalgia almost when I see that, because of the times that I was able to get up there and actually in the news of my life, I suppose. Next week I have I know it's a virtual sort of presentation, but I will take it, and it's one step closer to hopefully getting it out there and getting back up there to be able to tell sort of my story. And I think whenever I do my presentation, it's never the same. It's always a little different. I don't have sort of a script, and I'm constantly pulling from, hundreds of these video clips and things like that. And if it's nice because I can sort of tailor make them all over the place. And a lot of times, like this one that I'm doing, it's for a sort of a global marketing group. So I would label it as a corporate, very fancy word there, corporate presentation, and it's geared towards how they and their staff have had to sort of weather the storm, so to speak, which is right up my alley, of everything that's been going on since 2020. And not only all the political and the pandemic and all that and stuff going on in Europe and the economy and everything, and how you weather that stuff, and I don't know, all wrapped up in me telling this story about going around the world. And a lot of times, even though I've presented it 100 or so times, it's cool because if we're going to focus on that, then a lot of the story gets sort of shelved and then pretty much get into the nitty gritty of, you got some bad weather in the forecast. What are you going to do? For me, it's what the heck, do I want to sit here and freak out and worry and go into panic mode, or do I want to try and figure out an escape plan and get away from it and not have to deal with it at all? Or do I want to punch right through and keep going in the direction that I want to go and just prepare myself as best as possible and know, and this only came from experience, know that, you're going to rise to the occasion, so to speak. And I don't know. I mean, and there's just a lot of different connections that can be drawn between being out there and I think even though I'm doing a lot of that stuff or all of it solo, I've never considered what I do to be a completely solo sport, because it's not like I'm just out there running across the ocean. I have a boat which has a lot of moving parts that I do consider, especially after enough time out at sea, to be sort of alive and have their own attitudes that need to be adjusted, so to speak, sometimes. And I'm definitely talking to them, so I'm projecting. I know there's a word for it, but I'm projecting human traits onto things like sails and the boat and the wind vane and all that sort of stuff. So I do feel like there's a bit of a team effort there, but obviously I'm sort of in charge. But yeah, I don't know. It should be pretty fun, and I don't know. It's the circumstances are kind of hilarious because I actually we have decent internet here at the boatyard, but I'm not super close to it, so it's a one bar sort of thing, and I've been asking around trying to figure out how and where I'm gonna be able to go and do this, and obviously can't do it in the office because it's during the day and there's people coming in and out and there's heavy machinery and all that stuff. So finally talking to a guy named Larique, who I'm going to have on the show. He's a professional rigger. He's built quite a bit of the standing rigging of Mighty Sparrow and helped me out a million times. But yeah, and it was public library. I mean, go back to the roots. I haven't stepped foot in a library in I don't know how long, but when I walked through the doors of the Rockland Library, the public library was great. They've got little study rooms. They've got super fast internet, and I don't know. It felt pretty neat to go in there and see all these books, and of course, Rockland being sort of an old school little town, just like Petoskey, Michigan, where I'm from. It's one of those, and I don't know if I'm going to murder this name, but it's a Carnegie Library. So for anybody that doesn't know, way, way back in the day, I don't even know Andrew Carnegie. He was, I believe, into big steel and all that. One of the great industrialists of the time, had acquired a huge amount of wealth, comparable, I suppose, to some of the big billionaires of today. In any event, got to a certain point in his life and decided to give it all away. And one of the things that he did was fund and build libraries from coast to coast in all these small towns in America. And I mean, what a gift, really. You're given the gift of semi-permanent knowledge in books, and there's these really cool old libraries, and there's, I think, thousands of them. I should have probably researched this, but it is, I don't know, it's so neat. And I know in Petoskey they've abandoned the old one, which, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if they've totally abandoned it, but they built a new library. And I don't know, I know when I saw that at first, I was sort of, I don't know, not taken aback, but just sort of, not super excited about it. What they did here was they built sort of a new library around the old one. So they've incorporated the old and the new, because you don't want to give up on that stuff. At least that's my thought. I mean, you've got this beautiful piece of history, this lesson to be learned. I mean, I don't know a huge amount about Carnegie's life, but geez, from what I understand, and if you're going to acquire a fortune like that, you probably have to step on some toes and bodies and all that sort of stuff. But then, to sort of turn around and actually give back to the country as a whole, just in that one little way, which I'm sure maybe they did it other ways. Very cool. And you don't want to forget about that. That's something that I would think most people should know about. I know when I found out about it, I was like, whoa, that's pretty mind-blowing. That's the sort of stuff you like to see, trying to give back. So I don't know, very, very cool. But on that note, also, I do want to give a shout out, old Mike D. He's one of our biggest supporters here on the show, and he actually has a really kind of a neat little webpage, and it's a magazine. It's sort of like a blog. It's very similar. Well, I don't want to compare it to any of the other ones, but it's. I guess it would be close to what I'm doing with this podcast. He's doing with these stories from sailors all over the place, and it's really cool. Great pictures of the stuff, and just stories. The rite of passage, only once. Boat was this damned boat. Oh man, yeah, they're really good little reads, and you can look at them. Yeah, it's sailjunkie.com. It's a magazine and a blog, I guess. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. They even have one. I'm just scrolling through it right now. It says, "Want some cash?" Everybody wants a little cash. I want some cash. Sail Junkie magazine is willing to put up some cash for articles we select that contribute to this. ... Which is cool. If you get some cool sailing stories and you like to write, grab that website and check it out. I don't know. It's just sort of neat. I'm going to, and he'd given me permission to sort of plug this, and I don't know. It's maybe I can, and I'm not just plugging it because he did a review of the podcast, which was awesome, by the way. Thank you very much, Mike. Very flattering stuff. And it's comments like that, and then sort of the emails that I get from people that keep me going, and obviously the people on the Patreon family. It really does. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I put one out, and then you go and just you get a couple of emails, and then you look at the amount of downloads it gets, and all that sort of stuff, and I don't know. It's promising, and it makes me want to keep going and keep harping on all these people, these poor people around here. I tell you, I feel bad for them because I try not to just constantly harp on it. Like, hey, what are you doing this afternoon? You want to do podcast? I say that so much to so many people, and I know I got to stop because I don't want people to start avoiding me and all that sort of stuff. But I have to keep pressing because I want to sit down with a lot of people that are up here right now and just crank out a quick hour and a half on the show and get their take on some stuff. I think my most wanted victim right now is Heath. Heath and I have a lot of stuff to talk about, and he's out there lobstering. He's got the family, he's got the garden, he's got the chickens, he's got the brewery, he's got the dispensary. He's a man of a whole lot of things he's doing, and I strive to be that as well. And all of my stuff is a little, I guess I don't want to say it's a little different, but I guess it is. You get the books, you got the podcast, you got the job, you got Mighty Sparrow, and now you're throwing in a presentation, which hopefully will continue, and we'll get into more of that. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool, and he's just a really nice guy, and I one of the things I really like about him, he's not bashful about talking about pretty much anything and what his opinions are and all that, which is great. It's great to sit down and talk to somebody who doesn't really have any sort of motivation to frame anything a certain way or have, I don't know, shed themselves in a certain light for their own advantage, I suppose. Heath is probably one of the most genuine and great people. We had Murph had a nice little full moon party on the last full moon, which was a week or so ago, and it was great. A bunch of people came out. It was a lot of fun, and Heath came out with the wife and the kid and all that stuff. I don't know. It's just it's good. Nice little family affair. It was a blast, and it was kind of funny too because everybody's sort of waiting for the old moon to come up. It's getting a little late. We all ate. Everybody's a little tired because it was midweek. If it would have been a Friday night, we would have been howling at the moon. And about 20, 30 minutes before the moon's supposed to come up, all of a sudden the northeast wind kicks in, and we're talking blowing plates around and all this sort of stuff. Everybody's scurrying, but at the north wind up here, it's cold. So instantly it went from being very comfortable to a little bit of a biting cold, and I used that excuse to scurry right back to my boat and get some sleep. Because like I said, we've just been going full till up here, because as 4th of July comes in, the idea of getting your boat in, sort of a saying, if it's not in by the 4th of July, you might as well leave it out for the season, because it is a short season up here. But what a spot to be. Penobscot Bay, when I look out there, it reminds me of being in the Caribbean on a nice sunny day. The water is just beautiful. It's blue. You got all these little dotted islands, inlets, coves, and you can, I don't know, it is a great sailing area. All these little towns from here to Rockport to Camden to all the way down to like Bar Harbor, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, and then you got Acadia all the way up north, and there are mooring buoys up there. I think Russ and his wife are going to head up there pretty soon. And I don't know, it's a beautiful spot. And I don't know, I definitely, I still have never really cruised these grounds. I've a little bit while I'm entering and exiting the Gulf of Maine, but that's about it. But next door we have I think it's a Cape Dory. I'm not 100% sure, but these guys bought this boat, and it's about a, 34-foot or something like that. And chatting with them the other night, and we're going to have to sit down because they want to take the boat all the way down to North Carolina, which should be quite a little trip. I think it's going to be more coastal. There's more, there'll either be 2 or 3 of them on the boat, but going to be a coastal sort of trip, but I don't think it'll be one of the bigger adventures as far as sailing goes. And so we're going to sit down and pore over a few charts, come up with some game plans, some ideas, talk about weather, excuse me, all that sort of stuff, which would be kind of interesting. I don't know, you just, people you meet, you never know what's waiting right around the next corner, some interesting conversation, all that stuff. And who knows? Yeah, I think we're going to be launching them pretty soon. I know they've had a few issues because it's a new boat. You get a new boat, or a new boat to you, especially, these old used boats and stuff. You end up discovering quite a few little problems and having to address them. And if you're in a real big hurry, boy, that's a recipe for disaster. You put it in a little too fast, and then all of a sudden, now you're dealing with the floating boat that's got an issue. And it's always way easier to fix a boat when it's on the land than it is in the water. That is for sure. Oh, holy cow. All right, we're plugging right through. But yeah, so I don't know. I know I sort of got away from the Sail Junkie thing, but yeah, you definitely want to check that out. It's pretty cool. And I'm going to sort of delve into it. And who knows, maybe I'm going to see if I can use some of this for fodder. I've always thought it'd be kind of neat to have sort of like a news segment, but ideally, or not ideally, but initially I had thought about that with things like Sailing Anarchy or Scuttlebutt or something like that. I guess some of the more mainstream kind of sites about sailing, and that might be kind of cool. I can pick up some of those, but I don't know. For me, there's an interest level in the common man or woman where I don't know. I kind of want to hear about real life stories from just real life people. For years when I was getting into sailing, I used to pour through Yachting World magazines. We had a huge stack of them at the first little sailing school that I worked at, and man, the pictures and just Southern Ocean and the Volvo boats and the Vendée boats and America's Cup boats and all that. And it is really cool, and I do still like, I enjoy watching a few clips, but if I'm going to sit down and read a couple of page article about something, I find nowadays, and it's the same with this podcast, that I want the stories from the guy next door, because I'm probably going to laugh, cry, and relate to what they're going through a heck of a lot more than hearing the same story being told about some race and some high-end performance boat and the issues they're going through. I'm not trying to downplay how cool that stuff is and how much work goes into the high-end, peak professional sailors going through and stuff. But I don't know, for me, I love hearing these stories from people and what they go through, because they're just out there trying to follow their dreams. They're not out there trying to make money. They're not doing anything but trying to live their lives. So I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll see if Michael will allow me to delve into a few articles and have like sort of a news bulletin come out of this show of like, oh, we've got a new story and blah, blah, blah. But who knows? Who knows? Oh, geez. So Mighty Sparrow is looking not great down below. We are covered in a big film of dust from the boatyard. It's been kind of dry. There hasn't been a lot of rain, and there's clean laundry strewn around because it's literally I finish up work and I'm typically trying to stay awake long enough to make something for dinner, have a beer, and then go to bed. And I haven't been to the grocery store. Oh my gosh. When you work from sun up to sundown, it definitely no yawning. It definitely messes your sort of, I don't know, my psyche goes off in the rails, and I sort of just forego all the other facts of life. But I still do the laundry because, I got a job to do here. I can't look like a complete slob. Although I wear the same pair of pants to work every single day because they get ruined so quickly. I'm not up for sacrificing a few more pairs of pants to the work gods. But it's okay. Even if I went in with brand spanking new, clean everything every morning, I would say it would take me at maximum 2 hours to look completely filthy already, because everything I touch, everything I do either has grease, dirt, mud, or grime all over it. And so it's on my hands, then it gets in my sunscreen, then it gets all over my body. It's just, it's quite a sight. But yeah, I don't know, Mighty Sparrow, I'm hopefully we're not here too late tonight, because I really, really want to clean her up and get her looking good. Especially just because if I'm going to have somebody come on this podcast, they come down below. I want them to come on Mighty Sparrow and feel like, holy cow, this guy keeps it really looking good. And I always tell people, you should have seen it yesterday. It didn't look so great. But it is a pretty amazing thing what happens when you look around. I know, I don't know who says it. There's some pop culture sort of mainstream person that's like, first step is clean your room. And I don't know, sometimes parts of me want to just scoff at that, but other parts of me sort of like, yeah, actually, if I've got a lot of stuff I'm trying to do, and if I let the boat just turn into absolute garbage down below, it's not exactly a huge motivator. But if I take the 30 minutes or hour that it takes to pick everything up and then wipe everything down, and the boat smells good, it looks good, it's vacuumed, it's clean, and I see that, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, I have a little bit more motivation to go about my day, chin up, so to speak, if you want to say that. So there is something to be said for that. So I think I'm going to try But it's one of those things, I could have woke up early this morning and cleaned the boat, but priorities. Got to get this podcast out. Got to make sure people know that I'm still alive. I really do. The absolute minimum is going to be one a week. I really, really, really don't want to let that slide. And this was close. This was really close. I think it's been probably exactly a week since the last one I put out. Do not want to let you guys down. So we will see. But yeah, hopefully not too late of a day. Get this old girl gussied up, a little cleaned up, and then get some more people in here for some interviews. And we got the last of our docs in yesterday. Big applause. Thank you. It was a labor of love. It's always a pretty amazing thing. Once the fuel here at Night Marine, once the gas dock and the gas building open up and people can start pulling up, fueling up, picking up, there we go. Summer has started, and today is the 23rd of June, so just past the official first day of the solstice. And I don't know, it's cool, and it's nice too when we're having a beer or whatever out at Murph Shack. You look out, you get to see a lot of action, lobster boats and passenger boats and all these sailboats and stuff pulling in, pulling out, mixing it up, yelling, screaming. It's just nothing better. It's just action, good quality action. And who doesn't love a good sit and watch people try and park boats? It's just great. It could be its own whole entertainment sector. Maybe that's why they put piers and finger piers and stuff so close. I mean, I know they're trying to maximize how many dock slips they can put in one place, but maybe also there's a little bit of like, hey, we want a little entertainment value out of this. Let's make it very difficult for a 42-foot sailboat to spin around and then reverse into a tiny slip in between two power boats and only use pilings and tie up stern too on a windy day with a bit of current. Let's see that. It is funny. It's definitely a spectator sport. Ooh, good coffee, but boy, bitter. Still have never figured out the secret to that thing. Every single morning, my coffee always tastes different. And I suppose I could measure it out. And I suppose I could measure out like the little powdered cream stuff that I put in. And I suppose I could take the same amount of time. But where's the mystery in that? There isn't any. I tell you, there isn't any. Holy cow. So we're going to dive right back in today. Launch some boats. Hopefully we launch some in the morning. If not, I don't know. I got a lot of stands to pick up. A lot of big blocks of wood. But it looks like I might have a little bit of a helper coming in, which would be kind of cool. But the yard's already emptying out like crazy. There's a huge amount of room for activities, lots and lots of stuff going on. And it's nice because you see lots of gaps open up, and basically it's sort of, I don't want to say 50-50, but when you have a lot of boats, then all of a sudden you have a lot of cars. But we've also got a ferry terminal next to us to take people out to the islands, and a lot of those people need to park their cars. So we do a lot of overnight and weekend parking and all that sort of stuff to add to our offerings as a business, so to speak, here at Night Marine. And one of the things we have to do is move the cars quite often to get to other boats and all that sort of stuff. And every single time we put a boat in, we open up more space, which makes it a little easier. And you'd think that I'd have to move cars less, but it is absolutely incorrect because people just pull in and park them wherever they can. Oh, man. And yeah, that's probably one of the one of the strangest things, hopping in and out of other people's cars constantly. And it's been a bit of a struggle for the last couple summers where I've helped out up here because of people's masks. It's your car, so obviously, if you're wearing masks all the time, you're going to have them piling up in your vehicle and you're going to string them over the little gear shift or the mirror and all that stuff. But, you know, you got to consider poor old Jerome hopping in and out of like maybe 20 cars per day. And most of them having that dangling around. And I've been doing that since 2020. So I think I've successfully low dosed my way through the pandemic unscathed. When they say you get a little bit at a time, moderation is the key. Well, I think that's probably how I did it, because holy cow, the amount of germs and stuff that I probably go through in a day is pretty ridiculous. But hey, you know, I'm feeling pretty good. Lordy Lord. Well, I don't really know what else to talk about. Oh, I did have, I had a little bit of a, let me pull up my, oh, yeah. Okay, hold up. Oh, yeah, we've got some early birds out there working on their boat. They're putting their sails on. They must be launching this morning for sure. But yeah, I wanted to delve into, as I'm preparing for this presentation and such, I sort of happened upon a few little videos and a few entries into the old journal, which I think are, I don't know, they're kind of interesting. I wanted to sort of speak them out loud, so to speak, and I figure the podcast is a pretty good place to do it. But deep down in the Southern Ocean, and I can just see my parents, their eyes rolling, because I used to always say that all the time. Oh, when I was in the Southern Ocean. But when I was in the Southern Ocean, there's this point. So you get down there, you go across the Indian Ocean, underneath Australia, New Zealand, into the vast Pacific. You've been out there for close to 200 days. And with all the things that were going wrong, and this is geared towards, again, sort of weathering the storm and making the choices to keep going, just keep pushing forward and not actually give up, because that's sort of the point of the whole thing, is how you can get yourself motivated and in the right mindset to just always be pushing forward, no matter how many challenges and obstacles are put in the way. What you can actually do to make that choice and sort of gut up, so to speak, and keep pushing forward. So down in the Southern Ocean, you get across that vast Pacific. You've been out there, and in my case especially, you know, the water pump had been broken for months. The food had run short. So I'm always thirsty, always hungry. The weather's bad. It's cold, all that sort of stuff. You get past Point Nemo, which is the furthest you can get away from land anywhere on the planet. You know, the space station orbits at, I think, about 250 miles above the surface of the planet, and you're 1,600 miles from the nearest land. So the comparison's not even funny to make, how much further away from civilization you are than them. Although I feel like they're a little bit more isolated in some respects. In any event, you get out there, and once you reach, I don't know, I want to say 1,500, 1,200 miles away in a direct line to Cape Horn, that's when you really need to take into account your situation, and that's where one of the biggest choices come into play when you do a circumnavigation, and that's whether or not to dive deeper into the belly of the beast and pass into the Furious 50s and head for Cape Horn, which is a place that, like many spots on this planet, are absolute graveyards for sailors. And you know, once you get down there, even once you reach Cape Horn, then you got to climb your way back up, and now sort of in a different realm when it comes to these low pressure systems, because you've got to now beat your way through them as they first come upon you, and you're not riding them out, so to speak, like when you're heading to the east. And so you find yourself in this situation where you have to make the choice. Am I going to go further in, or have I had enough? And one of the things that I kept harping on about and actually was part of the reason why I made the decision to keep going. Really, it came from, and the idea is not 100% mine. I guess the dissecting and thinking of all the aspects that go into it, that's the sort of the idea I'm trying to get to right here as I blurt out all these words. But in Robin Knox Johnson's book, Sir Robin Knox Johnson, in his book, A World of My Own, excuse me, he talks about not letting the me down who got me here. And those words resonated with me a lot. Absolutely. It made 100% sense. And the owner of the Bitter End Yacht Club, he had said something to me before I left. It was very similar as well. And it was that the winds will always change. And I think those two sort of coincide pretty well for what I'm trying to explain here. But in that moment, in those days where I knew it was either time to go south and head for the Horn or, call it quits because the fall was coming in. I was late to getting to that spot. I had hoped to reach Cape Horn in February, and now it was April. So not really the best time to go. And I remember sitting down and thinking to myself, holy cow, okay. If you go backwards in time from where I am right now, 1,200 miles from Cape Horn at about 48 degrees south, and if I'm going to make it, if I'm going to keep going, I've got to set a course for southeast instead of head north to Tahiti, the Marquesas, who knows, tropical, beautiful paradises with everything you could ever want, and nice and warm and good trade winds and all that sort of stuff in that direction. And then the other direction, essentially the worst place possible you can think of going and trying to sail. So you have to make that decision. And obviously you've got the goal set in mind. You know what you're actually trying to do, where you're trying to go, and the thing you're trying to accomplish. But one of the things that helped me was to actually take a look at the past and go back from that moment in time, a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and just take a snapshot, take account of what all went into getting me to that point where I was there. And for me at that point, it was not only the 2 or 2.5, 3 months that I was in just the Southern Ocean since the Cape of Good Hope. And there's that person for that chunk of time that had to fight his way all the way through that, countless weather systems, whales, scary stuff, lightning, all that, and being so isolated and so remote, and then the problems with the water maker, the problems with the food. And that person, up until that point, had kept pushing on. And so I don't want to let that guy down. But then you can even go further back, and this is where it sort of relates to just about anybody. You go back to that, and you have the casual 10,000 mile or whatever sail from the start point. And then you go back from there, you actually have the person who has been working on and training on this boat for 9 months. And then you go back even further, and you're talking about the person who worked for 3 years and saved money and read books and researched and watched videos and did all of this work, which I guess would be comparable to someone going even to school or anything like that, trying to build an education that will allow them to do this thing that they want to do and keep pushing forward in their career. And so you add all that up, and you're looking at years of this person, me, working towards this goal. And now I'm at this point in time where I have this big decision to make. And even though if you just took me right at that time, and if you take away all that history and all that work and everything that got me to that point, that person might say, yeah, pretty much easy. I'm going to go to Tahiti. I'm not going to go to Cape Horn. But when you factor in all that stuff that you went through to get there, that person, if you make that decision to just put up the white flag and call it quits, you really have let down that person probably would look at you and be like, what are you doing, man? Keep going. Whoa. Why am I out here? Why am I pushing so hard? And it would not be, I'm not really, see, this is why I like to play these out, because it helps to sort of, I don't know. It's all about the flow of how this is delivered, and I'm doing a terrible job with it. But that's why I'm doing it right now. Iron it out before the real show. But yeah, it really is. There's like 5 years of pushing and eye on the prize and finding obstacles and overcoming them and pushing through, and then also just rising to the occasion. Because there were various amounts of times where I'm like, boy, this really probably isn't a great idea. Cyclone Irving, you get knocked down, you start rethinking your life choices. But again, you rise to the occasion, the boat makes it through it, and you keep plugging away. And that's one of those things where when you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're absolutely overwhelmed, you can't keep going, there's no reason to. The smart decision is to find a different route. But if you want to keep going and you want to find that motivation, looking back and look at and dissect what you've done to get to that exact point where you're trying to figure out whether you should keep going or you should stop. And that's one of the biggest things that really, really helped me, was just knowing, okay, well, I can look back. I can say, wow, holy cow, I really put a lot of effort into this. I spent my life savings. Let's at least give it a shot, because that's it. It's not as though you're saying to yourself, you have to do it. It's just you have to keep moving forward one step at a time. And that is also where the other advice comes in, that the winds will always change. And that really is, it's one of those things, you get to Cape Horn and then you get around it, and you know that eventually you're going to escape the Southern Ocean. You're going to escape this terrible little section, this huge, huge challenge. It's scary and you don't want to do it and you're tired, but you make it through that. And then you get out on the other side. The winds have changed. Things ease up. Temperatures come up. Stop going through quite so many gales. And then all of a sudden you find yourself with that big rush and that big reward of you made it through. And I think not only is it important to look back at what you've done to get you there, but also to remember and not really lose sight of where you are at that moment, but always keep in mind that you will eventually reach that line. And for a sailor, it's a wind line, or it's a latitude, or something like that, where you make it to that, and then you're on the home stretch. And for me, it was just getting out of the Southern Ocean and getting into the variables and making my way north and feeling the relief that comes with that. And so having that in your head and knowing that it's there, it's a physical, absolute thing. And even if you're an accountant or you're doing some sort of job, there is that goal of like, okay, we finish that project, we get to this goal, and then even though the career's not over, I don't give them my pink slip or whatever, however that saying goes. I get to a point where I've accomplished that. I know what I can do now, and then I can go forward and made it through such a horrendous and big and scary challenge. And so keeping in mind that little future thing of knowing that the goal will be reached, that helps. And then also looking back at what it took to get you there and making sure that you don't let down that person that got you all the way there, because eventually you're going to be looking at yourself further down the line and going, holy cow, I remember that time where I was so ready to just give up and stop. And I sat and I dissected it because Jerome Rand told me to. And boom, now I'm here. I can't believe it. Wow, what a smart guy. Oh man, patting myself on the back. So I don't know. That's in any event. I just wanted to sort of talk through that one, but I think it's a very relatable, and I think it's relative to just about any big challenge that anybody's trying to go through, or just life in general. I mean, it's very easy to just sort of get into a rut sometimes and be like, man, holy cow, like nothing seems to be going like my way, and I wish I was more success, or I wish I was in better shape, or this or that and the other thing, or I wish I was just having more fun in life. And you got to remember that essentially you've been working through and trying to get to a point for all the time before you started questioning that. And if you keep on plugging away and you make sure maybe reassess some of those goals, all of a sudden, hey, you can say to yourself, well, that's the goal line. I'm here. I'm 43 years old. For all those years, I've been trying to work towards something, and I'm not going to just give up. I got to actually put some more effort in. Let's punch it right through and let's go. I feel like I'm coaching a football team. All right, man. Oh, geez. So anyway, well, I now have to start getting ready to go lift some blocks and fire up the old tractor and get this day started. The other guys will be in pretty soon, so I want to thank you for bearing with me, all of the listeners out there. There are definitely more interviews to come. I'm 100% positive I'm getting something out this weekend, if not in the next couple of days, and we're gonna continue on. Boy, there's just there's a gold mine of people up here with great sailing stuff and just great life advice and stories, and it's all coming. But I'm just like I just said, now I can't give up. I got to keep pushing. Got to keep pushing the goal. I'd love to just have a bank with about 5 podcasts in it, so that if I hit a dry spell and can't get anybody to sit down and I run out of things to say, then I can hit those up. So that's sort of my goal. Wow, yeah, I gotta envision that. Well, it seems like my little pep talk worked on me. I'm very easy to manipulate. I can manipulate myself. All right, well, big thanks again to all the Patreon family and everybody that sends in emails and such. You can contact the show via the website sailingintooblivion.com. Feel free to reach out, and I love to read about it and obviously mention you on the show. I'll never use your last name. I'll just throw out the first because I'm pretty sure you know who you are. And if you feel like supporting the show, head over to Patreon. I'll put the link in the description. This has been a lovely Thursday morning up here in Maine. Summer is just cranking by faster than I could ever believe, and it's going to be over soon, so I'm going to try and cherish each and every day, even though I'm out there busting my hump, working hard, and sometimes I'd rather not be doing that. I got to remember that life is short, and I'm just messing about with boats. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for listening.